Welcome everyone, good morning. This is Wednesday, so happy hump day. I have a tester short silver trade going on because seasonally silver does tend to reverse the trend around this time of the year for various reasons. But before we start, let's caffeinate a bit. And let's do the introductions and the risk disclosure before we can begin. So if you're here for the first time, our lovely moderator Bruno has posted the Topstep risk disclosure in the chat. So make sure to familiarize yourself with that because everything you see here is for educational purposes only. Even though I am a Series 3 qualified trader, I'm not a CTA. So if it matches your plan, that's great, you can trade that. However, we're here to show different traders how we do things and provide you with some options so you can take little bits from each one of us and then try to apply that to your trading. Okay, now I've been trading for 18 years. I've been a prop trader for 12 years out of that, trading for various prop firms. So yeah, let's see what's happening with silver. If you're new here, I specialize in alternative products. So things like energies markets, precious metals. So you will see me trading copper. You will see me trading RBOB sometimes. But yeah, right now silver is breaking out into a little bit of a downtrend, and you can see on the daily chart it's been a bit quiet and range bound for quite a while. Now we're reaching the bottom of this range, but if it breaks any lower, then we're going to have some trend changes going on. Let's also have a look at the very large time frames. So weekly chart. Distribution, right? So is this a liquidation? Remains to be seen. Where is the weekly demand? It's somewhere closer to 36,315. And if you notice these wicks, the wiki wicks, if you notice these wicks, we've already bounced twice from that area. So if we get down there again, usually how it goes is that the third time they start to go even deeper into the area and then eventually they break down. So whilst this was in an uptrend, right now we're having maybe a bit of a market shift going on. So for now, the London session seems to agree that we should at least probe below the initial balance. Initial balance very small today for London, which is normal because obviously we still don't have the LME even open. So London open and then 2 hours into the London session tends to be a bit of a weird moment for most currencies. But when LME starts trading, which is 11:40 a.m. at my time, I am in England, that's when you will see more commitment to either side. And my setup that I'm trying here is a continuation downwards via the sustained auction break from the initial balance. So we'll see whether we can at least get down to 36.86 is my kind of first orientation point. If it continues to go lower, then I have the average session range low right where my target is. So we'll see whether we can extend down to that level. The average session range is based on a shortened London session, so from the London Open all the way to COMEX start. So I don't like to mix and match. When COMEX begins, we have some very different players with some very different goals stepping in, but we'll see. Maybe we get another single direction day like we had yesterday. Right, how is everyone doing? How's everybody's week doing? How is everybody's week doing? Woot is giving me compliments. What, just today? Normally I look ugly. Thanks, mate. Yeah. Oscar G says, I'm long another day in Eurostocks. Yeah, I mean, Eurostock seems to be diverging from the rest of them. Most of the other equities have gone into a bit of a pullback. Paul H says, nice setup, Coach Hoop is trading silver this week as well. Yeah, I actually talked to Hoop, and we were talking about the seasonal tendency of copper. Coach Hoop is actually my trading buddy. Like, we talk several times a week. Sometimes there'll be days when we speak nearly every single day. So we know each other really, really well. I have the highest of respects for Hoop. He's been in the industry for much longer than I have, because obviously he's a little bit older than me as well. But he started out as a pit trader, you know, and we know each other back from radio, Squawk Radio, when Topstep was still running it, when we were both first with Topstep. And I was just a guest on the Squawk Radio back then. Didn't have my show or anything, but I was their first female funded trader, which is how I got to know Eddie and Hogue. So I've been with Topstep since 2015. If you would believe it. I can't believe it. I am old, guys. Yeah. What's our good take profit? Jason wants to know. So, again, weird time of day, right? So if we get to 36.88, even though I have it a little bit more, I would be happy to take 42 ticks on that. If we go a little bit lower, then so be it. But I'm keeping my, so just to clarify, I'm keeping my live account locked up just for the post and my cut time of day, which is after 3 p.m. my time, especially during the summertime when everything is a little bit odd and weird and not too much volume. So obviously I want to make sure that I'm trading at the times of day when my own probabilities for these particular products have the highest chance of working out, and removing risk for all of the other times of day. If we ever get DAX, I'm really pushing for it in the background yet again to kind of try and get Eurex products in. Then I will be more inclined to trade the product that I normally trade for this time of day, which is DAX futures. But until then, I need to remove the risk, especially given the fact that it's the end of August, traditionally the worst time of the year for equities, and traditionally the year when seasonally silver turns around, whether it's for lack of demand, whether it's a whole bunch of stuff going on the industrial side. We don't necessarily need to know, but there is definitely a seasonality pattern where silver goes into a bit of a pullback, and sometimes even a jump off a cliff, right? Jay wants to know, do I use supply and demand? Only on the large time frames. So supply and demand for me is just a directional and maybe a rough trade location. So if you look at the weekly chart where I said we have the nearest demand all the way down to 36,355, I personally don't find supply and demand to work very well, especially not in the traditional way. Oh, it's like, oh, well, we have a I call them the conterminous lines, which are the lines that are, what's going on in my private messages? Okay. Especially not if you are looking at anything lower than the daily chart, maybe even lower than the 4-hour chart. So the 4 hours should really be like the cutoff point for the supply and demand, because anything lower, you're better off looking for something like Asia high, Asia low, London high, London low if you're trading the New York session, and then just attempting to find liquidity sweeps or stop run and reverse, as we used to call it. So the lower the time frame, the less likely it is that the supply and demand areas are actually going to trade to its full extreme high and extreme low before they take it out and then reverse. So, and that usually happens because you're dipping into a much larger time frame demand. So it's good for sort of directional bias if you take it from larger time frames, from higher HDF, higher time frames. But I could never make supply and demand work on low time frames. This is why I use profile and I use quantitative extremes, as well as a heavy reliance on time of day for when those probabilities should play out. Now, granted, London for me on these particular products is very tricky. Okay, we started these shows because we were supposed to get DAX, and then we never got DAX, and now we're here trying to trade the CME products that, whilst they do go through some volatility periods, they're not consistent enough for me in frequency. You know, it's like some days you have big moves for the London Open, but then for 2 weeks it's just like range bound, range bound, range bound, range bound. I like to see probabilities have two things: frequency of occurrence, first and foremost. How many times can we get this particular setup occurring day after day after day? And ideally you want something that occurs nearly every single day. And two, how often do these particular setups with some very mechanical trading rules work out? So things like orb, not very good for, largely for the London session. And precisely because you have this die out in volume after the London opens, and then you have 2 hours when the metals are not doing anything because they're waiting for the London Metal Exchange to start trading, which is still technically one of the largest metal exchanges in the world. So if you're going to trade metals at this time of day, just keep in mind the 11:40 a.m. London time as the time when you should start looking at the volumes and increase on volumes, and then having more commitment to either side. Anything before that, it's honestly anyone's guess where it's going to go. So we'll see. But again, that's why I'm, using a combine here, just to make sure that I'm removing risk to the accounts that really matter to me. But at the same time, I saw something happening in silver yesterday, which I'm expecting to continue today, at least until we get to this 36.88 area. Right now, we're sort of sitting around the put support area. So we ran through it on the first attempt. So here's my invalidation for this particular trade. If we confidently climb back over the put support area and reclaim that, go back to the initial balance, that will be the invalidation of my trade. And in that case, if I have time and if I'm paying attention, because obviously there's a lot of things going on, then I will take it off early until such time that if we bounce from the initial balance low, that's fine. Don't really care, because that's not what I want to see. Right now we have some single prints left behind. Why? Because we have a big move down that went away from the range, previous range, which was up at 37.085. So now I want to see a new lower low. That's like the first step. This DTPO period that we're in currently, I need it to go into another lower low. So that's another situational thing that I'm tracking. If we don't do that and we just kind of stay here for the next 15 minutes or so, that's also going to be a little bit tricky, because it means it's establishing that annoying range that we see a lot in metals around about this time. But they're certainly trying. Like, I'm watching Bookmap on my other screen. Right now we have a little bit of negative delta happening, minus 161. Not a massive delta. Decent amount of orders around, not like anything crazy, but we're still sitting below 37. We're sitting below 37, right? And they never really made an attempt to turn it around from 37. So because of that, I am still going to stay in this trade. But like I said, as soon as that changes, then if I'm able to, pay attention to it, that is an invalidation. So yeah. Oh God, Coach Robert just doesn't sleep. Coach Robert doesn't sleep. Good morning, Robert, if you're watching. Okay, D, how do you see gold? How do I see gold? Gold. So let me partial this and then go into gold. Let's have a look at the large time frames, as always. I actually even start on the monthly chart whenever I can. So monthly chart, This is the palm tree from yesterday. I see it as super range bound still. Like really, guys, until we crack the 3305 to the downside and then hold underneath it, this is still a range. It's still a range. Like, look at it. Can we say barcode? Can we say barcode? I mean, Christ. That's what you're trading in on the on the big time frame. And look, I get it. Gold does tend to trend more. In fact, when you look at the stats on the trending days on gold versus some other products, it trends like 42% of the time. 42% of the time. But this is not it. Like, we've been in the same consolidating area really since May. So May, April, June, July, August. It's very flat on the massive time frames. And not surprisingly, the weekly time frame also looks like that. Last time that we consolidated for this amount of time, they touched the low of the range, did a little liquidity sweep even there, then turned around. Remember, this is a weekly chart, so enormous time frame. Okay, I'm not seeing silver moving lower. So I'm going to close this because again, now my attention is partialed because I'm going on gold and I'm looking at other things and I'm just not tracking things properly. So I'm going to close that. So basically, you are still seeing this distribution. Technically, if you look at Wyckoff and basic market structures, you'll be looking for a liquidation phase right after. But gold being in a fierce uptrend, I would be a little bit careful with that. Why? Because gold tends to be a very fickle beast. It looks like it's turning around and then it just does a liquidity sweep, turns around and starts screaming to the upside. So really, if you are wanting to maybe analyze the macro side of things, like, do we have any sort of confidence in the economy at the moment? That is something that can greatly affect whether gold is going to keep screaming upside. Do we still see tariffs as, or not us, but the investors, do we still see tariffs as a potential uncertainty? If you can find reasons for why that is, even though I don't think so, maybe we carry on higher towards 4,000 area. But I think the economy so far, numbers-wise, looking at GDP, looking at, CPI, I don't think we have much cause for concern at the moment. So maybe that will push gold into a liquidation just from that macro side of things. And if we do see the liquidation move beginning from the huge time frames, you should definitely consider shorts maybe when they appear. So short setups for me would be failed auction short. So we try to test outside of the initial balance upside, then it fails and rotates through the entirety of the initial balance. You can have setups like sustained auctions that are clean extensions of the initial balance to one side, or you can have fading of the successful auctions to the upside towards the later part of the session, typically into settlement, maybe even lunchtime hour, because gold is one of those products that likes to turn around a little bit earlier. Typically it starts to turn around for anywhere between 3 p.m. my time up to the euro close. That's a 90-minute time window when I like to look at my setups, especially for reversals. And then you see yet another move that continues into settlement. Now, if you don't get that, if it gets stuck in a range for my 5 to 6 p.m., which is basically New York lunchtime, then look if the reversal is going to come into the last half hour of settlement. And gold settles at 6:30 p.m. London time. So yeah, those are some of my pointers of how I orient myself depending on the time of day. But yeah, gold to me, still a holding pattern, still in range. Until that range breaks, I can only speculate then maybe, just maybe, because the economy is not showing any negative effects just yet, maybe it's time for a bit of a pullback. And this is the case in all the metals across the board. Yeah. Ishan, I'm not an NQ trader. I am a DAX trader, which we don't have. I don't have any stance on NQ. Lubob has not been here since the beginning of the stream. Are you not trading live account? Yes, but I'm trading it for the time when I have my probabilities, especially in August when it's really crap, basically. So I'm saving my live account for post and white cut on CME products. If we had DAX, let me repeat that, if we had DAX, I would be always trading my live. But I can't do that because we don't have DAX, and I'm not going to be trading products that generally don't move. Now it's August, watching paint dry. I have no desire to dig a hole in my live account for no reason, just because chat wants me to. So yeah, you obviously joined the stream a little bit later because I said all this at the beginning. So yeah. Which is the best timing window to trade DAX? I have two. The first timing window is when Eurex opens, and then ballpark up to the time when I start my stream, you can have the Frankie fake out. So that's the first thing. I can have a look at DAX and we can analyze it in that regard. I'm going to drag my trading view over with some of the options levels that I have converted from ES. Because DAX doesn't have, like, it's got options, but it's mainly on the DAX index. DAX futures, a little bit less. So I use the converted levels from ES because I found over time that they actually work pretty well. So let's have a look at DAX from a massive time frame. A little bit consolidating, but I would say that out of all the equities, I think DAX is stronger still. We're still sitting fairly close to the all-time highs, even though we failed to make an all-time high. So I would be quite possibly looking for maybe long scalps. I wouldn't necessarily be looking at big swing trades because the structure is not telling me that, right? Looking at the daily chart, similar story. Some consolidation in the area between 24,200 and 24,600. Until that breaks, I will have a slight upward skew. When that changes, I may be more inclined to take shorts in DAX, but obviously that's a contextual thing as well. So let's have a little look into this idea of the Frankfurt fake out. So this is an hour out. This is, I think, in GMT, where we're in BST right now. Okay, so where is the Asia low? Here it is. This was 6 o'clock. Last hour of Tokyo. They ran it up. So you then mark the low. So that's Asia low. Oh, I'm not grabbing this. I'm just creating new lines. Oh joy. And I've created about 1 million of them now. So this is Tokyo low. Then you can have a look at the high if it was a well-defined high. I wouldn't say it was a super well-defined high, but around 5 a.m. we did sort of make a decent reversal. So you mark that as well. And then you go, this is Tokyo high. And if you see, when London started, there's this smash through the high and a reversal. That's your Frankie fake out. So that would be the first sort of setup that I look for. So look at that. Look at that, right? That's your Frankie fake out. And generally, when I'm doing those sorts of trades, I will want to see the volumes increasing to the downside after the break. And then you're looking for any kind of a reversal pattern that you can use. Sometimes I will front run it as soon as it starts to fall back into that range as well. So that's one of them. So even today, Frankie fakeout was an option. And right now, we're just waiting for the next day trading time zone. Sometimes I find a failed auction in and around this time of day, but I don't like doing short failed auctions. I prefer to do long failed auctions on DAX. And looking at where the levels are for today, we have value low at 23,382. So that's literally just sitting here. And this could be, so two hypos that I have. If we don't manage to get any sort of commitment into the value acceptance, for me, value acceptance long after this whole reversal, that would definitely be one of the setups. But if it fails to go confidently in about 3 minutes into the value area, and we start to see some selling there on Bookmap, that's then a value low reversal. It already had one reaction from there, but if it suddenly starts going to the opposite side, that would be a value low reversal, in which case I would be probably looking at the full rotation through the initial balance. So all the way down through to the initial balance, which was down here. So yeah. So basically, there are two setups for the London session that I usually look at. You can also look at the 4-hour chart to see how far we are advancing in relation to the previous range. But that's not going to happen until we get another new 4-hour chart in another couple of hours. So yeah. What is DAX? DAX is the biggest 30 German companies, and it is one of the widely traded products in London prop firms, and also people who are effectively trading during the European hours, right? So London hours, DAX is one of the most liquid products. Lubab is also saying, is there any possibility the Topstep will add DAX in the future? Guys, how many times did I say this? I'm pushing for it. I don't know when it's coming, right? We started a year ago, waiting for Godot. I'm still waiting a year on. And I don't know. I know as much as you do, right? I'm pushing. I'm badgering people in the background. I've badgered one of our lovely producers, Danielle. I'm badgering one of our marketing guys as well. Saying, please get me DAX. He's like, what do you want? Anything you want? And I'm like, everything's great. I just wanted to get DAX. Please get me DAX. Okay, Sarah is in a crude oil long. I mean, that's a good one for the overnight session. Just I would not hold it past about 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. our time. I know, Sarah, you're in Surrey as well. So, yeah, I hate being long crude because every time I'm long crude, we get to the open, and then everything just melts down the opposite way. So most days, crude oil is going to have a short bias. So if you've already traded overnight and if you have, 70 ticks in the bag or 100 ticks in the bag, just take it and run. So be happy with that trade. Crude oil is a funny one. We had a huge contraction, like I even mentioned it last night with JD, that they were looking for reasons why crude oil has dried up as much as it has. And although it still has some periods of volatility where it still goes to 300 ticks a day, most times it will stay range bound by about $1, which is barely 100 ticks. And then you get one move and then nothing. So if you miss that one move, you just don't have more opportunities to adjust or to run yet another trading idea. All right, so that silver trade has bounced from 37. So I'm happy that I got out of that. I'm not going to be running a failed auction of any sort because there's no profit margin on that trade. Profit margin for the failed auctions is the opposite side of value. Opposite side of initial balance. Need more coffee. Hold on. So, opposite side of initial balance. Wonderful. What is the size of the initial balance today on silver? 20 ticks. Yay. So initial balance is too small for that setup. It is a setup that could happen, and it probably will happen, but it is an unplayable setup. So I don't get involved in setups that have such a low profit margin that all it's going to do is going to sup my mental capital. I like to reserve my mental capital for trades that have an inherent, I'm going to use intrinsic profit margin in them, meaning there's no problematic areas on the way and there's enough space for me to run those trades. So really a better trade would be to short again at some level and then to see whether we can get the 37 again. So now you're basically looking at trading inside the already established range because we failed to make a new lower low, and this is now likely going into a range. Just an educated guess. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? I've just seen gold and silver get stuck in a range for the next 2 hours until LME starts trading. So yeah. Thank you, Bruno. Thank you, Bruno. Bruno says that's a nice silver cut. Yeah, it's situational awareness, right? And now, obviously, when I'm running these streams, a whole bunch of stuff is happening, right? And I'm an old person at this point. I'm middle-aged. I don't look it, but I am. I can feel it. I don't look it. But Granny D is strong in this and... Is NVIDIA and Palantir pulling down? I've got Palantir. I'm not selling that ever. Maybe for pension. Give it another 20 years and Dee will sell her Palantir at like $9 a share. But yeah, that's like my pension thing. NVIDIA is going to have earnings towards the end of this month. So we have some put support areas at 175 all the way down to 172. But the way I'm seeing stocks is anytime anything pulls back, to me, that's a sign to run some kind of a long call option, because I don't like trading stocks that are this high up outright. I don't, right? So I like to express my individual stocks views through long options. Take it as you will. But I don't think it's maybe this Putin, Russia, Ukraine is causing a little bit of risk off. But as soon as they announce, and they will announce it, like I know people give Trump, people have an idea that I hate Trump. I have no sentiment, okay? Let me just put that out there. I don't hate the man. I don't love the man. I am neutral on Trump, right? I like it when he tweets or says something silly and then markets go absolutely berserk. I actually enjoy that. I enjoyed it in 2017. I'm enjoying it now. I'm actually missing the times when he was talking about tariffs and everything was going crazy. But now he said something that I don't like. He talks a lot, but I think the way he delivers some of the sentences are taken the wrong way. So he said something on Monday that I think chat might have misinterpreted. He said, "I'm not looking for ceasefire." And then he mentions that he ended some wars. Now, he did end the wars. Like, if you go back, I don't know whether you were trading at that point, but he did actually end some wars. And he's the only American president that did so. So I don't know why people had that much of a problem with it. During his last administration, yeah, he ended some of the wars that have been going on for many years. So he said that he's not looking for a ceasefire because he doesn't want ceasefire, then it all kicks off again. He wants a peace treaty, right? He wants concrete results so that everybody is on the same page and we find a solution that will work for everyone. I don't know how he's going to do that because there are deeper issues with that whole conflict that maybe some of us in the Western world are not even aware of. I'm not going to go into the whole rabbit hole of why and then, but I am a Slavic person, so every time I go back to Serbia, there's certain things about this conflict that are not being told, and I'm not going to be the one to tell it. If you want to go down a rabbit hole, go and research Russians in Ukraine church. Just go and look that up. You know, there are certain reasons that this war has happened and it irked Putin and whatever, but just like with our war, you know, there are deeper reasons why civil wars happen and why conflict happens. And for the most part, the Western side is only looking at it from a bird's eye view and not really seeing the micro picture. I hate wars. I've been through 3 of them. I really do hope that we find a solution because enough is enough. And I think there is a solution. So, you know, as much as people don't like Trump, he is the president. And, you know, I'm not a politician. I'm just a lowly trader, you know, cowboy trader trading commodities and my little energy markets. But, you know, they are people who are more experienced, more educated in politics. So let them do their job. And let's just hope that they can find lasting peace. And I'm with Trump on that side. I want to see peace. I don't want just a ceasefire. So I think that his words were maybe taken the wrong way. He said, I don't want a ceasefire because he wants to see peace, right? Greg says, how can anyone misinterpret? I did that, and I did that. Yeah. I do love the volatility. Yeah. Sarah, I will check my messages on Discord. I saw you also got me on Instagram, so I'll check all of those. Don't worry. This week is a little bit busy for me, but maybe towards the end of next week we can arrange for a coffee. And obviously Surrey is massive, so we'll see where you are and where I am, and we can meet up. That would be awesome. I love meeting people from chat, like honestly, because you get to match the names with the faces and you get to know the people properly behind the scenes, so it's awesome. Oscar G says the behavior of Eurostocks is clearer than DAX. Listen, I traded Eurostocks probably before you started trading, and I didn't like it. I preferred DAX because Eurostocks goes through periods of super quiet, and you're looking at it and it's moving in. Like, let me give you an idea, because I tried trading Eurostocks and I kicked off a trade. It was a long. I went off to lunch. This was when I was still working in office. Went to lunch. Then I went to the gym, or vice versa. Went to the gym, then went lunch, came back an hour and a half later. I was like 10 ticks in profit. For the same duration, DAX was following. And I had a move of 150 ticks in DAX versus 10 in Eurostocks. So each to their own. If you love Eurostocks, knock yourself out. That's your trade. That's your setup. I don't like the fact that it's less liquid than DAX, okay? Just like somebody will fight me on ES versus NQ, I will fight people on Eurostocks versus DAX. So there you go. Sasman says, recently backtested my strategy using M5 for entry instead of M1. Less entries, more accuracy, just need more patience with it. What entry time frame do you use, Z? So here's the thing. I don't marry myself to any time frame. The time frame that I will be using for entries will be very fluid with the setup that I'm attempting to make. Sometimes I don't use the time frames at all. I use just the break of a signal level, like in the case of initial balance break, for example, for a sustained auction down. And again, not making a lower low in silver. That made me get out of this trade. We also had the put support, which is very frequently a reversal. Can be an accelerator, but can be a reversal as well. So for this particular trade, you saw me enter. Let's actually do chart execution so that you know what I'm looking at. There we go. So what was I looking at? I was looking at the break, just a pure break of the initial balance. So I was messing around with setting up the stream and everything, so I was a little late, but it still was a decent entry for a break trade at 37.070. Did I use a time frame for it? No, I stayed on a 30-minute chart, and all I was looking for is a break of the initial balance low. No pattern, no time frame. Any time frame. You can use any time frame for that. You can use 1 hour, you can use 2 minutes. It doesn't matter. What mattered was the break of the initial balance. So there is no time frame involved there. It is a range. You're looking for a break of the range. But having said that, let's say that I'm looking at the average session low reversal. I don't have it anywhere at the moment, but let's say that that's the setup. So I'm just going to go ballpark, playing around as if we have that level here. Let's just say we have, or maybe the high. Let's say, imagine that gold is now reaching average session range high, and it is touching it, maybe even going over it. That is not the trade that I will front run. I want to see price action tell me that somebody else is also getting involved. So for that, I will use 2-minute chart or a 5-minute chart at the particular time of day. For this purpose, I prefer to run the London side of quantitative extreme reversals for like closer to 11 a.m. because that's when you see more reversals. And if I'm using a 2-minute chart, I want to see a very, very specific pattern. It's a two-bar pattern that reverses and takes out at the very least 3 trending candles. Trending candles is a G in that day. So when I see that, it means that we've had a somewhat of a, sometimes you can see it in a supply and demand compression on very low time frames. What does it mean? Well, here you can see a supply and demand compression. Basically, it goes up, then it creates a new demand, then it goes up, then it creates another one, then it smacks into this one, picks up more. So it's basically this haphazard move on a low time frame that keeps coming up with more and more passive buyers. And then you get to a point where they exhaust the move, when they agree in price and they come to the quantitative extreme, and then they do this big reversal that has very little wicks to the opposing side. So if I'm going to short it, I do not want to see these buying wicks. I want to see a decisive candle that fully takes out and holds underneath the previous 3 trending candles. So let me see if I have something like that to show you. It's going to be a very, very specific move. So here's one of them, right? So when I see that, I will wait for a pullback. So I'm not going to just go plowing in. So yeah, it's compression. Then now it's gone down. No, I want to see it pull back a little bit, and then I will typically run it from that pullback. So 2-minute chart for that, with a view that it takes out at the very least 3 trending candles. Here it takes out a lot of them, also the more reason to look for a pullback. And then you have a couple of options how to get in. Like one of them I I would typically switch to a 5-minute chart, then look for that market shift. I call that the conterminus line. And then the touch of that line might make me go into the trade that I have a signal for, but I still need to wait for the timing of that trade. Another way to do it is if you have an options level, like let's say you had ballpark 33.67 as an options level, and it pulls back to that after the signal is given. So notice that I'm not going in at the first signal. That's just the trigger. It's a trigger for like, yes, now it's on. Now we monitor. Like as if you were a piece of code, right? So you write a code that says, once the strong 2-minute bar happens, make sure that you go back 3 candles and then scan whether the new candle is under or above it, and that if it's under, that is your trigger. But now you need to wait and listen for the actual execution point, and then you find whatever is around it. So literally as if you're a computer code, right? So once you've identified this big candle, the reversal, and remember, this is not an average session high reversal. It's just a random thing that I'm trying to illustrate here. Then you can do anything. You can just basically go in on a touch, upon a reversal, upon a pullback. So this was a reversal, pullback, going on a touch of whatever level you have there. Or look at this nice little ribbon. So you can make sure that you stay within a ribbon, and then maybe swipe it when it either touches the top or it melts through the bottom yet again, or maybe you just want to use the 16 moving average to get in, plop a decent sized stop or about 35 ticks, and then you just wait. And that's it. That's my, entry done of a 2-minute chart. Now, if I'm trading something that is a little bit slower, so therefore it doesn't require super low time frames, I will use the 5-minute chart for my quantitative extreme reversal setups. But if I'm doing value acceptance trade, if I'm doing the auction fade trade on a day where we went into quite a bit of a trend, I will actually use a 15-minute chart, and I will not mess around with anything lower. But actually for value acceptance, I will be using a 30-minute chart. 30-minute. Nothing lower. I wait. So it really changes depending on my playbook. I have about 5 core playbooks, and then I have some alternatives and variations on it. Berlinda says, "Hi Dee, I have been with Topstep for a little over a year now." Awesome. We love having you. And she goes, "I have been watching you in the background the entire time. I love your philosophy and temperament." How nice. Oh my God, thank you so much. That's very kind. And thank you for giving me your time. You've been with Topstep for quite a long time now. Thank you for being here, Berlinda. It really means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. Sasmeet wants to know, personally, do you believe in passing 50Ks fast or take your time with it? This will depend on the experience of the trader. For most people who are not doing consistent payouts, at least once a month, for most of the time in the year, because not every month you'll be profitable. You're going to get months when things are a little bit screwy. But if you are a novice trader, definitely not. If you're somebody who has managed to create consistency and you've managed to pull one payout per month for a minimum 3 months, do whatever you like. Pass it in 2 days. Hell, go straight to funded, or back to funded as we're going to call it over here. Do whatever you like because you have competence that was proven via consistent payouts. If not, if you get into an XFA, limp through it, then you lose it and blow up spectacularly after 1, 2, or 5 days. Or if you've only received one payout and you haven't been able to get to a payout stage ever since, absolutely do not try to pass quickly, because your skills have not shown you that you are there yet. Therefore, all you're doing is chasing, high on hopium, chasing payouts without having the skills to back it up. So it depends, right? So find yourself in that skill level and then decide whether you're okay to be more aggressive in the combine. But generally that will go hand in hand with the experience of the trader. Sometimes you have experienced traders that can't pass a combine for the life of them, or they can't get a payout from the XFA because there is something that they're doing that is derailing their consistency. Don't know whether you watch James D. He's a Canadian dude that I love his honesty, but I do feel that he is kind of rushing the process. So he says that he's doing really well in his personal brokerage account, and he said two things previously, not this time around. He said that he uses bigger stops. So bigger stops in your personal brokerage is working, but you're not using bigger stops in your prop. Why? Because he wants to trade with size. He doesn't really want to go to micros on the combines. And he is constantly trying to get back to the funded level. So it's like, and he's like, yeah, I do trade micros in the XFAs, but then he still keeps losing them. So what is that? Because the small stops are derailing the profits. That's the issue, right? So smaller stops bring more stop outs. And then he's not in on those beautiful moves that he's identified in his personal brokerage account where he uses a very generous stop. It's like, why don't you just try doing that in prop? Not like a humongous, like sort of 150 ticks, 200 tick stops now. Or for NQ, let's just use like 100-point stop. No, find a middle ground, keep testing it, or why don't you go back in time and see what sort of a stop would have been required if the trade went your way eventually, but because of you skimping on stops, you weren't in on that. And don't just use one trade. Go back like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Get like 50, 100 trade sample size to see what actually happened. Maybe you can even use ChatGPT for that. I don't know, so that you don't have to do it manually. Just ask it, give it a file and say, looking at this analysis, you might have to give it tick data as well. So just want to do that. And again, me using MetaTrader 5 for my charting, people kind of sleep on it because I've got to say there is this very interesting thing where you can get tick data for free without paying an arm and a leg. And the data is not... it is pretty good quality because it's a brokerage, right? So let's say I'm gonna drag this out for you. So let's just request this. So basically, if you go into symbols, you first go to specs, but then if you go to ticks, it's going to give you tick data for as much history as you have. Now I have a lot of history because obviously I keep it for years and years, but people are sleeping on this fact that you can actually export tick data and then go into ChatGPT and manipulate it. I don't know of any other platform, frankly, that's going to do this. So you would basically just export all of these into a file and just import that into your ChatGPT and then ask it to compare the same period on that contract and say, analyze the tick data versus where I had my stop losses and tell me what size of a stop loss would be required to capture the move that happened on such and such date at this time of the day. Give it a timestamp. Obviously, you have to track all of your trades in some sort of a journal as well to do proper analysis, but ChatGPT can definitely help with that side of things. And then you'll be surprised because I've been working on a little kind of mean reversion crude oil thing just to kind of test the API on the other side, and it actually gave me the stop loss of 50 ticks, and I was like, really? 50 ticks. But we do use like a little filter for the volume, so I ask it to analyze the volume in there. And so utilize AI for things like that. If you're struggling with getting too many stop outs and then your trade goes your way, maybe even ask it if which would be the break-even point, of your current, whatever you're doing right now for current risk reward. What is my break-even point? You can ask it that. You can even ask it at which point should I go to a break-even stop loss. However, I want to still capture the majority of the moves that I've done as my playbooks, like I did before. What would improve it? There's so many things you can do with it. NM14 says, I might be an inherent bull trader. Do you know what? If you're trading equities, that's not a bad thing, but you still have to keep your mind open. After weeks of maintaining discipline, yesterday's volatile NQ market blew all of my accounts. You keep waiting for the pullback in deeper trouble. Any advice? So I would say this is a combination of being over-leveraged, not using lockout risk settings for the day with any personal daily loss limit and maximum trades per day. Can you see the maximum trades per day? No. Let me remove my face for a second. So you see this? Trade limits. Maximum trades per day. So even if you don't set your PDLL, you can you go back through your performance, and then you basically just go, what was the maximum number of trades per day on average on my really good days? Put that in there. Make it into a habit that before you do any trading on the day, lock out risk settings for the day. Lock them out. That should be step one. Not look at the charts. Not, let me analyze and do a few clicks. No. Step one, in your plan, daily plan, you look at it. Step one, lock out risk settings for the day. That will save you. They will save your accounts. Will save yourself a whole bunch of grief of starting all over again after building up some balance sometimes for months on end. Please make that into sort of a reflex loop that you just do automatically every single day. Now, for the first month or so, you're probably going to have to do this with thought. So maybe have a Post-it note that you stick onto your screen so that you can see it every day. And then once you get used to it, after about 30 to 60 days of doing something every single day, it becomes an autopilot behavior. So if you're going to make anything into an autopilot behavior, be it to lock out the risk settings for the day. Okay? Now, the second problem would be that you are kind of brainwashed to just go buy the dip, and then something like yesterday happens and you get scared. So that makes me think that your situational awareness is not exactly fully developed. I know it's difficult, but as traders we have to be objective. Do you have tools in your trading toolbox that are going to tell you without any qualms whether you're wrong? For example, for me, let's say that I was looking for longs up here when silver was still consolidating after the London Open. So let's say I was looking for longs. And then this thing happens. So to me, a market that extends the initial balance to the opposite side and leaves single prints, or FVGs, however you want to call it, that means I'm wrong on the long side. So I'm not going to keep chasing longs, because I'm going to be like, okay, let's see what happens around the initial balance low, or if it keeps melting, which it didn't today, but if it kept melting, I would be using the newly formed single prints as a new trade location for short. So no more longs. Longs have long gone. So if you don't have those kind of robust situational awareness tools, I would urge you to develop them. I think that was mainly the problem. You get biased and you're just like horse with blinkers on. Lungs, 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 up, kaboom. And you're like, wow, okay, what happened? So you don't have the risk tools that will stop you from, completely derailing your account. You probably didn't set a sensible risk limit either if you blew your accounts in one day. So I would say find some sort of a sensible daily loss limit, or at the very least set the number of trades per day. I actually dislike the daily loss limit. I much prefer to trade on a maximum trades per day. So whatever happens, for me, that would be between, I try to get everything in 6 trades, but if I look at the TopstepX platform, because sometimes if I'm in with 2 or 3 contracts, it does tell me that it's like 12, 13, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's 12 or 13. It means that I scaled out or maybe scaled in as well. I do that a lot. It doesn't mean 13 trades. It means 5 or 6 trades, but scaled in or out. But so I still allow myself 13 trades, and then it will cut you off. It will cut you off. So no more. No more. Go and cool off. The risk setting is saying, go and cool off, NM14. Take a cold shower. Splash your water with some cold. Splash your face with some cold water. splash your water with some cold face. I don't know why I keep switching words out this morning. So hopefully that this helps you in the future to not repeat the same thing. MP is teasing the back to funded, so keep your eye on MP's Twitter, which is where all of us get our Topstep news, just like Trump, right? Whatever MP tweets is very likely coming, because he is the man and he is the one who has the power. I've got the power to push new concepts to the front of the queue, and then to just get them up into production. TradingView also allows for this export. I use it with ChatGPT. Yeah, okay, cool. So if TradingView also has tick data, that is amazing. Use it. Sasmid says I have a 20 to 50 point stop loss on M&Q. Awesome. I usually use 35 points. Some people say it's too big, but on M5 I feel it's good on backtest. It shows it's not problematic. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree with that. So I'm in the middle there. So 35 points if I'm trading NQ. That would be 140 ticks, thereabouts. And yeah. RC sitting on his ears, I think, or maybe getting involved in the whole conversation a little bit late. So how does that help? What does it improve? It improves your awareness of how you're doing and analyzing. So you export the tick data so that you can compare that to the actual trades that you've done from your journaling exports as well. Plop both of those into ChatGPT and then ask it questions to say, because when you are only looking at your journal data, the only thing that ChatGPT has is where you entered, where you exited, and how many times you grasshoppered in or out. But generally, if you give it tick data and you ask it, on this date when I did this trade, what happened after and how can I improve this? Like if you got knocked out because you're using tiny little stops, it can tell you what stop size would have been better in order for you to survive that particular setup. And if you take it back through comparing the two, both the tick data and your own trade execution from the same period, ChatGPT can give you more insights into how you can improve it. Without me telling you, without Hogue telling you, without, Dakota telling you. It's literally taking your own personal analytics and then improving it via the new technologies that we have available for us. Okay, we've got some religious people in chat. That's very interesting. I don't know what they're doing here on the day trading agnostic live stream. Trader Ken says, I'm a bold trader too. Today I'm thinking when trend is down, I will revert red to green and buy the inverse side. It's a good way to do it. CC64YT wants to know what is back to funded. That is probably going to be our version of getting back to a funded stage if you messed up your XFA or your live and you want to get back to a funded level. But I don't know much about it, right? I know as much as you do. Maybe a little bit more, but generally not too much more, because that is the operational side. That is the, what sort of products Topstep is going to bring us in the future. NM14 says, thanks D, I think I should drown myself in an ice bathtub and get up fresh now. Little bit hardcore there, man. Try a splash of ice water on the face first before you go dipping into full-on ice bath. Especially if you have health issues, don't do that. I would also try maybe lifting some weights as well, because that tends to take care of the fight or flight response. Cedric is asking, is it possible to export tick data from TopstepX? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I don't see it anywhere as an option. I think we can export orders and we can, or is it trades? I never know, because on the live one of these is not working. You don't have the option to export any analytics, which is a little bit annoying, but yeah. So yeah, if you use other platforms, they will be more likely to have that, but there's no export tick data. On the API, you can pull history from the live market data that they provide via this thing called the Signal R. That's been a little bit difficult to convert to Python. I'll be honest. I'm still working on that, but yeah, because I do Python and they have JavaScript as examples, so I'm trying to convert it all, and I kind of got it working. All the author. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about coding because I'm going to lose everybody. Nerdy D. Sasmith says, thanks to you, honestly, since last week I've been seeing people having 1 to 2 point stop losses hitting 30 trades. It made me feel like, no, look, don't believe everything you see online. I only trust the traders that will post their losses and their wins, but I will understand if somebody doesn't want to do either of those, because you can't please people. You see, I've been on YouTube for 10 years, pretty actively since 2020. But in the beginning, I used to post everything. I used to post my broker statements. Then somebody took my broker statements from my social media and created a very elaborate website that used my name and was claiming crypto investments using the futures broker statements that I was providing, and managed to defraud a whole bunch of people using those. So since then, I'm just not interested in posting anything. And then when I posted my winning streak on some prop accounts in an XFA, I got absolutely slaughtered on Twitter, because it's oh, what, you've done 13 trades and that was with scaling. It was actually 4 or 5 trades with scale in and scale out, and you've only made 1,000. And I was like, really? So I'm getting ripped into if I post a winning streak. I'm getting ripped into if I post a losing streak. I get completely destroyed if I would post, God forbid, broker statements where I didn't have a great month. I would get people scamming other people when I was posting broker statements. It's this too much drama. I can't be bothered with that anymore. So since then, I post dogs. Maybe I'll post some. Hold on, Cry2 wants to get out. Alright, go outside. Go. Anybody else want to join him? No? Okay. I have one dog that kind of thinks he wants to be in here, Crichty, and then after a while he gets bored and he's like, I want out. This is boring. You're not doing anything. You have no food. So what gives? So I just stopped posting crap. So every time if I see an interesting setup that I might be noticing something analysis-wise, and Bruno, I just saw your message. That's funny. Can I share that with chat? That's hilarious. So Bruno has a very unique negative reinforcement technique. He says, I eat chilies after I take a stop loss. That works well. Yeah. So I was kind of toying with the idea recently to start doing sort of like relapse, not relapse. Relapse? No, it's not. That's not the right word. What am I trying to say? Relapse. Yeah, relapsed today. Like to try and do almost like a time lapse. That's what I'm looking for. We got there. Time lapse of playbooks and then naming the playbook and going, this is what it looks like, and just kind of doing it in a very kind of short video, like a YouTube short or something. Similar, if you are on my live trading archive, so similar to that, but just without the voiceover and all like smushed into the 30-second or 1-minute video, just to kind of go, this is what a failed auction looks like, and then pinpoint increase in volume, rotation through, things like that would be more educational rather than, look at me, I just made, $1 million in a day. I don't really subscribe to the whole, look at my Lambo. Like I made fun of people with my little Mini Cooper S that I love to death by creating a slow-mo video of me kind of walking up to my Mini and kind of like I think that's in my from Forex to Futures in 10 minutes video on my channel. So if you want to check that out, it was about a year ago, right? So check it out. My YouTube is actually kindly posted by Topstep right underneath this video, as is my Twitter, but my Twitter, I'm very random on there. I just gotta post dog videos and stuff. So I think that would be more beneficial for people, just to do time-lapse videos on actual playbooks and what they look like. And then also do actual playbooks that don't work out, right? Bruno, you're making me laugh today. That's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious. But hold on, because my husband loves spicy food. Like he is like ridiculous how much he loves it. Wouldn't that like kick off a whole bunch of endorphins that ultimately make you feel better after a while? I don't know. I'm going to have to do some research into that, whether it's truly a negative reinforcement strategy. Unless you're like eating something with like 1,000,000 Scoville level. Mo says, I would prefer rewind day, D. Just one per account would have helped me yesterday. Hey, that would be an awesome feature. Imagine me going to my broker if I mess things up and go, yo, Amp, Dan, can you, Dan Culp, the CEO. I actually know him as well. We did some developments. Funny story, Blatek MP, which is my market profile product. It was initially created for AMP because Dan approached us to do some coding with for him because of the market profile being pretty widely used in futures. So if you go back in time, you will actually see that there was my voice on the videos back in the day, circa like 2016 or something, when maybe it was 2015, I don't know, but it was a while back. So I did the introduction of market profile. We even did one live show, like we did a live, I don't know whether that was public or whether that was only for AMP people. So back in the day, I did some work with Dan Kopp. So basically we I think he was even threatening to come to London once. I mean, threatening, not threatening. He wanted to come visit London, but I believe it was still like lockdowns and stuff. Don't think it actually happened. And we were going to take him to like have like fish and chips, British food. But yeah, I don't think it ever happened. So anyways, if I called up AMP and go, hey, Dan, can you just erase the day yesterday? That would help me a lot. So we have these amazing opportunities through prop firms that if the platform malfunctions on AMP and you get stuck in a trade, you just have to eat it up. Like there is nothing that you can do about it because the AMP is not going to be rolling back live accounts because that's the real trading. So I think we are maybe not taking enough responsibility even when there's something technical going on, because tech will malfunction. I guarantee you. I have never traded on a platform that has never malfunctioned. There's always issues. And yes, we can recognize that we are having some issues due to the sheer amount of users that are using Topstep X all of a sudden. Not ideal, but which is why they do roll it back. Or they give out free resets, if something happens. They always make it right. They always do, right? So I just wanted to touch upon that. But if you go back to like AMP when, let's say the CQG data feed goes down because of the server's malfunction. I've had that happen. And we're not talking about, 2, 3K, 10K loss. No, I had a couple of days when it was like 20 to 40K loss because of a platform malfunction. It's like, what do? You take it on the chin, man. You take it on the chin and just keep going. It's the only thing you can do. Do you have a Forex prop that you use and is it CFD? I do not use Forex props and I do not use CFDs. First of all, I don't think that it's a good idea. They are all using aggressive spread management as soon as you get profitable with them. So apart from FTMO, I do not trust any of them. And I think the Forex challenges are vastly overpriced. And also their trailing drawdown never ends. So it's like you forever have a 5% trail. What does that do? It makes you fail. Nobody trades without a drawdown at some point over the year. So to me, they're designed for people to fail. They just are. Second problem, entering a Forex trade and having a bullshit spread on top of it plus commissions. What is that all about? If I'm paying you commissions for round trip turn, I don't want to see a spread unless there's an actual reason for it. No, they slap on a spread on everything, especially crude oil. Crude oil with CFD brokers trades with ballpark 5 to 13 ticks spread. 5 to 13 ticks. It's like insane. I'm not doing that. Final point. If you have any kind of serious capital to invest in a Forex brokerage, over here in the UK, no matter if you put in 200 grand, 250 grand, you're only ever protected in case of broker default. You're only ever protected for the 50K. I have a problem with that. So no Forex for me. I have not traded Forex since 2017. I may have done a Forex trade in 2019. Let's say GBP New Zealand was probably one of the last things I traded in Forex. Since then, I ain't touching it. Cedric says, I saw that you're using GEX levels to trade. Do they update during the current session or do you use same levels all day? It's end of day levels for most of my commodities. The only time I will use SPX intraday levels is if we've gone into a huge trending day where all of the end of day levels have been run through. That's the only occasion when for equities specifically, I would put the intraday SPX conversion or even SPY conversion on my ES charts or QQQ if you're using NASDAQ. But yeah, other than that, no. It's all end of day. It all stays. And actually on my commodities, those same levels stay for like 2 weeks. Things like platinum, natural gas, gold to a degree. Like gold is a little bit more dynamic day to day, but generally it's like the same levels. Silver as well, same thing. So yeah, end of day for me. No intraday updates. It's way too dynamic for commodities. So all you need is just end of day on most days. Frederick says, thanks for all the info. Who were you referencing earlier for some money management? It's a Canadian guy that you will see every so often jumping in. Yesterday he was on before I was on, so it was what was the name of that? Was it? Trying to remember what. Bruno, what's the name of the segment before lunchbox trading? My brain just locked up. So he was on right before us, so I was obviously watching it, and I love him. Like, I think James is a very good trader. I just think that he needs to transfer some things. Yeah. Cedric is asking, okay, thank you so much. What website do you use to get those levels? So I can give you the website. What was it called? Yeah, it is MentorQ. I have to log in. Hold on. Do you know what? I think I created like a little, because it's a, bit of a weird spelling. So MentorQ. Okay, that's the right spelling. So MentorQ. Rising Star. That's it. Yeah. So there we go. MentorQ. I mean, if you find them useful, if you go on my YouTube channel, you might even find a little code somewhere. Because I do have a code now for MentorQ. They are a great company. I've done about 3 webinars, and one of them was with Anne-Marie as well. It's really good. So yeah, if you want a code, so let me just see what the code was, because I even forgot my code. Let's just log in. Was this bloody pin thing on Windows is annoying the hell out of me. What is the code? And I think they were running some promos recently. I don't know, I can't find it. Yeah, do you know what? If you check out all of the links I have on my own website, on my own YouTube channel, it's all in there. I can't be bothered looking at it right now, honestly. I get so much work. Yeah, it's too early for that. So yeah. Trading Nickel says, lovely. Took a silver short overnight and it bounced 3 times, 2 ticks above my TP. Okay, well that's a good thing, right? Oh, above. Oh, you were short 2 times. Okay, so next time, here's the thing. You know how you can, I don't know whether you have TradingView already or whether you're only using one platform for all your trading, but if you have TradingView, and if you have it on your phone as well, you can actually set an alert to ping to your phone. Set it to 75% to your take profit so that it can ping into your phone and that you can watch what it does. Then watch it for about 3 minutes. If in 3 minutes it doesn't reach your ultimate TP, take it off. Oh yeah, so the segment that James D was on was Trade with Topstep. Yeah. They changed the name, so maybe it's Rising Star, maybe it's Trade with Topstep, I don't know. I thought Trade with Topstep was after me, but I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, so if you're looking for a little bit of a saving some money on MentorQ, you might want to check out any promos that they have at the moment. So So yeah, do that alert, do the alert, and then try to wake up if you're asleep, I suppose. If you're watching it, then it's not much of a problem. So you can just get the alert, start looking at it when it's 75% to your target, and then if it just doesn't hit it in about 3 to 5 minutes, you know, see how many times it's hit close to your target and then moved away. But yeah, you have to start managing your trade when it's that close. That's the point to manage, right? Not like once you entered and now we're over managing and letting the trade just kind of like choking it to death so they can't do anything. When it gets to your take profit, that's the time to start managing. Don't lenny it before then. My website, you mean X? No, I mean my YouTube. So you go to my YouTube and then you know the description part? You click more, and then there's a whole bunch of useful stuff for most YouTube videos, not just mine, but all of the YouTube videos have a whole bunch of like this hidden section that for some reason is not as obvious these days on YouTube. But yeah, you get a whole bunch of goodies on any YouTuber's stream, right? So even on Topstep, when you click more, you get the trading glossary. You get the schedule from TopstepTV, a whole bunch of stuff, right? Well, literally, if you go to my channel and you click on more, there's going to be a whole section in there that you're not aware of. So, yeah. All right, we've got 4 minutes. I'm not seeing anything obvious. Silver has died a death. It kind of went up to the initial balance. Has done absolutely nothing since. Sort of a pullback. I mean, I would still be looking at this as a pullback. Maybe another short later on in the day if we can, you know, bounce up to. Let's give some levels. Let me find the COMEX levels. Okay, so I have the value low from yesterday. It's a big value. 37,245. Massive value. To massive value. Huge value. There's also settlement at 37,295, let's say. So that whole zone is also a GEX2 zone, which is sitting at 37.25. So if we get to GEX2 and the value low and the settlement and also the POC from yesterday's trading, that would be my first area to look for more shorts. If it starts going into a pullback, I'm not interested in it until the time of day, lunchtime, Euro close, ballpark, so 4:30 p.m. over in the UK. And then if there's still no reversal, I will be looking for settlement, which is after 6 p.m. But I do not want to be long silver today. I don't think the larger time frames look well for that. Yeah, so here's all the stuff that we have in that more section. More. All of that. You have the entire schedule. So trade with Topstep. Yeah, Bruno, I think they kind of changed that sometimes. So sometimes they trade with Topstep. They might have Thunderdome as well. I don't know. But yeah, it was the segment before Lunchbox. So check it out yesterday, what he was saying. I like how he's very honest and the fact that he's always talking through his struggles in a very, very transparent, honest way. I mean, we all do that, right? We all like a little cry on the chat shoulder. Pi wants to know how many screens I use. At the moment, I have 5. Sometimes I have 6 if you count my little Elgato prompter that I use to create videos. Because obviously, if I'm doing YouTube videos, they need to be condensed in like a 6 to 10 minutes time frame, and I talk a lot, in case you haven't noticed. So basically, I don't like to waffle on too much, so I do create a script ahead of time. And then I also try to add funny memes and a whole bunch of stuff. So I have little prompts when I need to look for the memes, and I typically have them on as a little extra asset whilst I'm recording so that I don't have to edit too much and like drag things on and do everything in Pro Premiere. So yeah, I have 6 screens with that little screen, if you count that. But otherwise, I have 5 screens. They're not big screens. They're actually, what are these? They're the Asus. I forgot what they were. They are Asus screens. I think they're about 24 inches, and I've got 5 of them. And it's, yeah, so it was Rising Star, James D. Yeah, I thought so. There's photographic memory. Yeah, so James D was in the Rising Star. There he is, in the white suit. So yeah. Yeah, so 5 screens. Not massive, because I don't actually like those curved screens. I went to see them in the shop, and first of all, I don't like using all of my apps on the single screen. I don't know why, it's just old school, I guess. So I like to have all of my screens. I'm going to be doing, okay, exciting things actually. My sofas arrived yesterday, as you might have heard whilst I was streaming. So house phase 1 is complete. So once I'm over this next weekend, because it's our 10-year marriage anniversary. We've been together for 20 years, but it's our 10-year marriage anniversary. So we're doing a little bit of something for that. I'm going to be filming the new house, and to give you guys a little bit of overview of where I'm living now. And yeah, so hopefully that should be super exciting, because I know people have been asking me, it's like, Dee, how's the new house? Dee, when did we get to see a new house? Dee, can we see a new house? And I've done snippets on my Instagram, like kind of backstage, and you know, how my living room looks, and some dog photos. You know, I do a lot of dog pictures. But yeah, I think it's time now that we have the sofa. And that was kind of the last thing that was missing in the house. We have plans to do a whole bunch of more stuff, but, you know, yeah, we'll see. Okay, so like I said, silver might crawl back up to the value low, settlement, GEX2 area. We'll be looking for more shorts. If not, then it becomes a time of day thing, not necessarily a level. I have a concept called time of day is a level. So, yeah, what was I saying? Curved screens. Yeah, so curved screens, I don't like them. Went into the shop. And first of all, I feel like you would have to, like, raise your head. I'm very short, by the way. Very short. So maybe somebody who's like 6 foot, 6'3", you can sit at a desk normally and look at those size screens without crooking your neck and needing an osteopath to fix it after. But me being 5'1" on a good day, I like to say I'm 5 foot and a stepped on strawberry, like a, you know, value of measure, unit of measure, squashed strawberry. And yeah, and then I'm like sitting here, and with the curved screens, I would have to get my head very high up, and I don't like that, so I just don't. So basically, I went for smaller screens, 5 of them, and I have my apps and all of the programs that I want to run dedicated to a single screen, so I like that more. X-Slowboy says, wait, did you used to play with Rod Stewart? Yes, that was me. Here I am on TopstepTV. Yep, I did play with Rod Stewart for 2 months. It's my claim to fame. I was part of his saxophone section. It was me, a girl named Kit, and Emma. So it was Dee, Emma, and Kit. We were playing with Rod Stewart. So yeah. Take it as you will. It was another lifetime. It was 2008, a very long time ago, when I was still a musician. So yeah. Yeah, trading nickels. I actually have compression between my C1 and C2. So yeah, looking up is also generally a struggle. Right, we're at time. This was very fun. So let's finish it up. Again, don't do anything silly. These summer markets can be quiet, and then boom, like yesterday in equities. Be a little bit more on the defense side, you know. Don't go offense and just go, let me full port it, lose all my accounts. Just go, it's summertime. This low liquidity could amplify the moves that we're seeing. And I believe that's what we're seeing. So if something's happening and you can't figure it out, don't enter into another trade. Breathe. And then just go, interesting. Don't feel FOMO. Don't feel FOMO. Yeah. All right, that's it. This was the Euro trade, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me a bit of your time. As always, I really, really appreciate it. So if you found some value in some of the things that I talked about here, whether it's screens, whether it's the silver trade scalp, because it ended up being a scalp, whether it's situational awareness and how to not get too biased to develop more robust tools, please give me a like. Smash it. Caress it. Love it. Smash the like. But just once, because we want the like to stay. And don't do this heart in chat. That's not the same. So we want to hit the thumbs up underneath the screen. And then I will know that I'm bringing some value. Thank you for being here with me. As always, I will see you tomorrow for Thursday. Is it? Yeah. And then you're also going to see me on Fast Markets. Fast Markets, me and Aaron, Londoner takeover of Fast Markets. So that'll be a laugh. I haven't done that in a while. In the meantime, stay cool, stay safe, keep away from FOMO, and I will see you very soon. This was the Euro Trade. I'm Marcus Stalker D. This was TopstepTV. Take care.